Hello everyone, my name is Cornelius Tabate and I'm here to talk about Oliver North and the Iran-Contra affair. Now, what is the Iran-Contra affair? It was a complicated scandal that happened during the middle of Cold War. This affair had three elements: Nicaragua and the Contras, the Iran-Iraq War, and Oliver North and the NSA. Let's start first with Nicaragua. Now in the 1960s, was under the rule of Anastasio Somoza. He was known for exorbitant expenditures and political corruption. However, some Nicaraguans took notice and they formed the Sandinista Front and would take over in 1979. But some Nicaraguans did not like a socialist group ruling over their country. So they would form the Nicaraguan Democratic Resistance, or the Contras, as we know them today. They would soon take over in 1980. Now, the Contras were against communism and socialism. This would catch the attention of a newly elected president named Ronald Reagan. Now, due to their anti-communist policy, Reagan would take a lot of interest in the Contras. This would lead him funding the Contras. Now, when Congress caught wind of this, they blocked him by using the Boland Amendment of 1982. The amendment was further strengthened in 1984, thus making it impossible for Reagan to fund them. But this did not stop Ronald Reagan. This is where the National Security Council, or the NSC, and its director Robert McFarlane and his assistant, Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North, would come into play. However, the funds to support the Contras would come from another country, Iran. Now, Iran was at war with Iraq from 1980 to 1990. Both used many tactics to gain an edge, but there is one edge that Iraq had over Iran. That is, Iran was outgunned, so they needed weapons to fight against their next-door neighbor. So they asked a lot of countries for support. The United States was against supplying Iran with weapons due to terrorist-type activities going on within that region. Now, the terrorist cell that was ruling over Iran back then, maybe still now, was Hezbollah. Now in 1984, Hezbollah take a group of Americans as hostages in Lebanon, and furthermore in 1985. Hezbollah would release the hostages under one condition: Iran will buy missiles from the United States to be used against Iraq. Now, the Reagan administration, especially McFarlane, would be at an impasse. Sell the missiles to Iran and free the hostages, or not, and hold their moral ground. So what did Reagan do? Because Reagan supported Iran, due to them not being aligned with the Soviets, he authorized the transactions, and the hostages would eventually be released. Now, the reasoning behind this was to preserve democracy and establish better diplomatic relations with Iran. Now, with this happening, he has now profits which would be transferred to the Contras back in Nicaragua. Now, all of this was not just Reagan's doing, but most of the dirty work was done by Oliver North. Now, who was Oliver North? Oliver North was a former Marine Lieutenant Colonel, which he got first involved with the Sandinistas and Contras back in 1982. He was doing field duty along with then Vice President George H.W. Bush. His main objective? Improve diplomatic relations with the Contras and Nicaragua in general. Now, once the scandal rolled, he and his cohorts would create fake bank accounts to funnel money to both the Contras and Iran. Meanwhile, Robert McFarland would leave the NSC and would be replaced by Admiral John Poindexter in 1985. He supported the cause, just like Oliver North. Now, more people came to donate for the cause until it was unveiled by the media, and soon would be in a congressional hearing. Now, in 1985, the scandal was first unveiled by the Miami Herald and the Washington Journal. And in 1986, the media unveiled the scandal again, this time uncovering it in detail. A congressional hearing would be held in 1987. Poindexter, North, and many others would be soon held in trial. Now, before the trial, Oliver North would destroy all evidences linked to him. Except for one. But this did not get him in trouble. The charges were dropped due to Congress promising them that their testimonies will not be used against them. In 1988, the trial was finished, and all the men that were involved were dropped and got away scot-free. President Ronald Reagan, the mastermind behind the scandal, was not involved, despite authorizing both deals and essentially creating it. He constantly denied any authorizations in his many addresses. He once said, "We did not, repeat, did not trade weapons or anything else for hostages, nor will we." Now this was a blatant lie to cover his reputation. In conclusion, the Iran-Contra scandal was a complicated affair involving three nations, an anti-communist president, and a voluntary former Marine lieutenant colonel. This scandal itself would have marred Reagan's legacy if it was not dropped. The people involved should have been tried for treason, despite the evidence being there. In the end, all the men were acquitted of treason. Alright, so my name is Corey Stablate. Thanks for listening, guys. I hope you have a good one.